Hello there. I am Jillaire Hall, Skills Development Specialist for the Global Services Sector Project, and we are back here again with you with one of our pre-fair prep sessions to get you ready to step into your new career. Are you looking for an exciting career opportunity? Then you need to register for the GSS Virtual Talent Hub Fair that is happening this Thursday, September 23rd, commencing at 9 a.m. There are over 15 firms recruiting, trying to fill various entry to mid-level roles in various areas, including but not limited to HR, talent development, IT, accounting, banking, finance, customer service, sales, risk management, and more. Just to give you a quick highlight of the firms that will be participating: Teleperformance Jamaica, Concentrix, Conduent Jamaica, KPMG Jess Jamaica, Vistaprint, Collective Solutions International, Innovative Vision, Vistaprint, National Pen, Continuum Global, HGS, Contacts 360 BPO Solutions, Talentbox Caribbean, Outsource HR, Caribbean HR Solutions, and VXI. And of course, I couldn't forget our partners. There will be Heart NSTA Trust exhibiting, Jamaica Computer Society, or better known as Jamaica Technology and Digital Alliance, and Gift Me. The theme of the career fair is Jobs of the Future. Do you know what the labor market will look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you know the jobs or the skills that will be in demand? Register and attend our career fair to participate and listen in on industry outlook discussions with industry experts on the current and emerging opportunities in various segments of the GSS. These include travel, transportation, and tourism. It includes global digital services, robotics and STEM, and of course, customer experience management. And don't forget, there are prizes to be won, so you don't want to miss out on that. Now that you've been registered, let's discuss your strategy and approach to stepping into that new career. Today, we'll be talking about interviewing for success, and we have a special guest that will share formula or some best practices that you need to note. So, do you freeze up at the prospect of going on a job interview? Do your hands get sweaty and all of a sudden you become nauseous when it's time to face the panel or the interviewers? It is said that the key to acing an interview is to practice and be fully prepared. So today we'll take that mystery out of the mystery and the anxiety out of job interviewing by getting you prepared. Today, we have as our guest Mr. Andrew Fairman, who is the CEO of Talentbox Caribbean, a boutique executive search and recruitment process outsourcing firm specializing in recruitment marketing, headhunting services, and job seeker support. He is a certified trainer and recruiting practitioner with over 8 years of experience. He is a member of the Human Resource Management Association of Jamaica and currently serves on the conference planning committee of that association. Before venturing into entrepreneurship, Mr. Fairman worked for major cruise lines in Miami, namely Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Line, as their learning and development manager or lead. He has recruited for local brands such as Kingston Wharves, Toyota Jamaica Stationery and Office Supplies, Heart Institute of the Caribbean, Rainforest Seafoods, just to name a few, and for clients as far as Grand Cayman, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, the Bahamas, and the United Kingdom. He's a past student of Faith Early Childhood Institution, an apostolic Christian, and he's the husband of one wife. Also known as a recruiting tycoon and talent scout ninja, Andrew Fairman, welcome to our pre-fair session.
Thank you so much, Delaire. Thank you so much for that
The ninja.
intro.
Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming and for agreeing to participate in the session. So all is
You're
well with
welcome.
you?
Yes, I'm grateful. I mean, there's just everything to be grateful for. So I'm really grateful and happy to be here.
Thank you. Now over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. And I really want to thank, the GSS, Jalair, and the team for really putting on such a wonderful program. I hope you're all ready for the job fair that's coming up in a few days. And this initiative is to really get you prepared. I know that many times you would have submitted your applications and you probably would have been the ideal candidate. But when you get to the interview, you get flustered, you don't know how to answer the questions, you get nervous, and it all becomes, a mess. And so the tips that I will share will hopefully assist you in navigating the interviews. One thing you need to take into consideration is the fact that you are being invited for interviews. So we don't necessarily have to look at the resumes because the resumes is really giving you, results. So that's good. Now, the interview best practices that I'm going to share, they're highly subjective and relative. They're not one size fit all type of approach because every situation is different depending on the role, depending on the industry, depending on the level. So be mindful of that as well. So first things first, if you're going to be successful at any interview, the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you prepare. Yes, you have to prepare. And when we say prepare, we tend to talk about research, we tend to talk about clothing, we tend to talk about going on Google and Googling the 10 most popular interview questions. That may be true, that may be correct. But when I'm personally talking about research, I'm really talking about problems and solutions that the company is facing. And I feel that this is one of the issues or one of the challenges where a lot of job seekers fail. So when we look at when a job is advertised, it simply means that the company has a gap, as we call it. They have a need, and we're doing mutual exchange. You're going to the company and you're selling yourself. You're saying, these are the skill sets that I have that will fit or solve the need and the issues or challenges that you have. So that is a broad heading and broad idea that you always need to have in the back of your mind. Okay. So prepare. When we're talking about being prepared, what are some things we're talking about? First things first, you need to know the time when the interview is going to start. Very basic. You need to know where. You need to know how long it's going to take you from your place of travel to the interview. A lot of times I've seen where interviewees do not calculate the amount of time the commute time. So they would say, it will take me 30 minutes, but then it ended up taking them 45 minutes, and then they end up being late for the interview. Bad impression. You don't want to start off the interview on the wrong foot. So make sure you know what time the interview starts, how long it's going to take you to get to that location. You factor that in time. Also factor in your rest time when you get to the interview, the office, right? To be interviewed. You need at least 15 to 20 minutes so that you can bring yourself into your entire being, so that you can relax, so that you can go over in your mind your questions, your answers. Separate and apart from that, you need to research why the role is vacant. A lot of times as job seekers, we just see a role, we just apply, but we really don't know why it is vacant. Did somebody leave? Did somebody get terminated? Is the company struggling with attrition? What really transpired? Why did the role not open? why the role is vacant. Is the company going through an expansion? Because all of this will then lead into your solution package that you're going to prepare to present it to the company. So you need to know that as well. You also need to know how many persons are going to interview you, and possibly what are the names of these interviewers, because that is going to be critical. Why, you may ask? This will help you to be relaxed. When you have an idea in terms of who the interviewers are, you are more likely to be prepared. If it is a VP of HR or whoever, you know that it probably might be a more intense type of interview. So you will prepare accordingly. So you need to know that. Then you need to know research the issues or the challenges the company has had or the company is having. Again, a lot of times I realize that job seekers don't necessarily have an idea in terms of the challenges the company is facing. But if you are to be successful and if you are to present yourself as the solution, you must know the challenges and the issues that the company is having. Once you figure that out, having done your research, in the back of your head, you need to craft your solution, right? Because this is what it is all about in the first place. So you need to craft your solution in the back of your head regarding that. Then you want to make sure that when you get to the office, you need to be polite. You don't want to end up not greeting the janitor and not greeting the receptionist, and lo and behold, they're the ones conducting the interviews, right? So you need to be polite. You need to greet everybody and anybody, because again, you want to give a first good impression. Okay, so be careful of that. And I've had situations where potential employees would just walk past the receptionist, don't greet them, don't say anything, and then lo and behold, the receptionist ended up being in the interview. And that allowed for a very awkward exchange and allowed the recruiter to be more biased, right? So be mindful of that as you navigate. The next thing that you want to do is when you're in the interview, you need to answer the questions clearly. You need to answer them thoughtfully and succinctly, right? So if a question is asked and you are not sure of the answer, it is completely fine to say to the interviewer, could you paraphrase? Could you repeat? I am not sure what you meant by this question, because if at any point in the interview you give off an incorrect answer, right, it will not work in your favor. It's going to be a negative in your book, okay, or in your grading scale. So you need to be mindful of that. So it's best that you ask for clarification rather than answering off the bat, and then you get marked down. So be careful of that as well. Now, as you navigate through the interviews, there are some questions that are going to be asked. The first question that interviewers generally ask will be, tell me about yourself. Oh boy. And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question about me. What do I say? Let me tell you, I've heard some crazy answers, just to put it nicely, and I've heard some really profound professional answers. But in general, when this question is asked, the recruiter, first of all, is trying to uh, allow you to relax, and want you to get into your real self and mode. So they usually start off with that question. It needs to be brief and to the point. So here's what you need to do. You need to tell them who you are, not that you are a female or a male and you attended high school or anything like that. No. You need to talk about your skill sets. I am a marketing practitioner by profession with over 3 years in the hospitality industry. I have been allowed to work with X softwares within the last 3 years that I've been a marketing practitioner. So what you're doing, you're crafting an answer, right? And you're presenting that answer as a solution that will eventually feed back into why they want to hire you. You also need to allow your personality to shine, because it is important that you match yourself to the role, that you match yourself to the company, but also that the company match you to the role and vice versa. A good way of allowing that to happen is just allow your personality to shine. Because when you do that, the interviewer will now be able to make a more critical or more accurate decision whether or not you will fit in with the team, or whether you will fit in the entire culture of the company. So that is important, right? And this will also allow you to weigh in whether or not the company is right for you. So again, when you're answering the tell me about yourself, you talk about your skill set, okay? Allow your personality to shine, but also tie in a solution, tie in and present yourself as the entire package as a solution, so that the company would want to engage you further. One thing that I need to point out whenever you're doing panel interviews, I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but when you're doing panel interviews, it is important that you engage all the participants. I've seen a lot of times when I'm in interviews and panel interviews at that. One panelist will ask the candidate a question, and the candidate will be intently focused on that person that asked the question. Yes, that person asked the question, but you need to be engaging everybody. So if one panelist asks the question, you need to focus for a few seconds on that person, but then your eyes need to be traveling throughout the room to all the other interviewers so that they don't feel left out. Remember, that you want buy-in from these recruiters, from these interviewers, and there's what we call the recruiter bias, right? We all have our biases, whether conscious or unconscious. So you need to keep this in mind and ensure that you are mirroring positive gestures as well as you're engaging the recruiters and all the panelists there. Your answers again must be complete. It is better to be detailed rather than to be too short and and you're not bringing across the information that need to be brought across. I can give you an example. I did an interview last week for a company in Kingston, and we had 3 candidates, all of them very well experienced. But what set one candidate apart was her in-depth response and answers to the questions, which led us to believe that she had more knowledge on the subject. Whilst both of them may have similar experience and qualifications, based on the answers that one of the candidate provided, she ended up being the one that was chosen because she went in depth. So again, you want to go in depth, but you also want to ensure that it is quality over quantity. So you don't want to be going off all along 2-3 minutes and really not driving the point across. You need to strive for quality over quantity. What is also important, ladies and gentlemen, in the interview process is being honest and authentic. I cannot say this enough. A lot of times in the interview, we believe that we need to put on a show. We believe that we need to put on a show that will project us to be someone that we are not. You don't need to do that in the interview. You must be authentic. You need to show up as your authentic self. And if the employer or the recruiter cannot appreciate you for who you are, then immediately it is not a company that you want to be working with. So be mindful of that. Show up as your authentic self, right? One question again that is usually asked if the candidate is this is if you're currently employed. Why are you leaving your work? Yes? Why? Why? I got this question a few months ago with a candidate, with, well, not a candidate, somebody that I was coaching. She did about 7 interviews, and all the interviews that she did, she failed. And she wondered why she was failing. And she narrowed down some questions. Actually said to her, all the questions that you've been asked, write them down so we can discuss them. Whenever she got to this particular question, she would always stumble because she thought she shouldn't be completely honest, right? And because of not being completely transparent, they would always not call her back, or they would always not present her with an offer. And so after we went through our discussion and our meeting, I said to her, listen, you need to be honest. You need to be honest. You need to be truthful and transparent as to why you are leaving. Okay? And the employer, potential employer that is, should appreciate why you are leaving. Okay? And again, if they cannot appreciate that, then it might not be the right company for you. So again, let's recap. You need to be honest. Okay? You need to present your authentic self whenever you're going to the interview. You need to answer the tell me about yourself question as a solution. So whenever that question is asked, tell me about yourself, think of yourself as a solution to whatever problem or challenge there is, but also allow your personality to shine. If there's a panel interview, you want to be engaging all the panelists. In the interview, you don't want to allow one of the panelists to feel left out. Essentially, you want to engage all of them as well. You want to be answering all of your questions succinctly, completely, clearly. If you don't understand a question, say to the interviewer, or yes, to the interviewer, unfortunately, I don't understand that question. Can you repeat? Yes. Do your research. And research does not necessarily mean that you are going to find out what year the company started, who is the CEO of the company, etc. These are usually a given, and nobody usually asks these questions. A recruiter tend to not ask these questions in the interview. When we say research, it's really what issues or challenges the company is facing. Why is the role vacant? Who are going to be my interviewers? Right? What's the culture like? All of these information and more will prove to be more important in the interview. You also need to calculate the time for commuting because that is important as well. Okay, and then you also need to give yourself time to relax when you reach the office, because don't forget that you cannot perform in the interview, or you cannot be at your best when you're rushed, when you're tired, when you're flustered. So you need to give yourself at least 15 to 10 minutes where you can relax, get yourself in your best mind frame so that you can answer the questions. And then greet everybody. People lie, be professional, be nice. You must be likable. People need to like you. If they don't like you, unfortunately for you, 90% of the time, you will not get the job. So people need to like you, but more so than anything else, you need to present yourself as a solution. I hope that helped. I could go on and on. This is just a tip of the iceberg, but I could go on and on. So I want to thank you so much. I'm pretty sure there might be questions. I'm pretty sure Jalair is going to come and ask some questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and go and rock those interviews.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much for that presentation. I like the fact that you tell them you have to show up showcase why you are the right fit for the job, and bring tell them what it is that you intend to bring to the table. But I have a very important question. You see, when you just started, when you were speaking about being prepared or to prepare yourself, you
Yes.
mentioned that one should find out why the role is vacant or why they're recruiting for that
Yes. Yes.
position. Now, most of the job descriptions or the that is sent out to say that we're hiring, they indicate do not call, do not email, or some of them have that caveat to say,
Yes.
so
Yes.
how would for in instances like those, how would you say they can approach to get that information? Because not all firms are open to you calling and asking. How do they approach that?
That's a great question, Julia. And this is where, first of all, as recruiters and HR practitioners, we need to really rethink how we approach recruitment and how we approach talent
Mm-hmm,
acquisition. Because sometimes we believe that we're doing the candidates a favor, but really, we're not doing the candidates a favor. We are
mm-hmm,
exchanging. I need your skills and I'm giving you money. So that's the first thing. It's a mutual exchange. Separate and apart from that, I believe that the
mm-hmm,
job seeker needs to leverage his or her network. So the ad might say, don't call, don't email, but who do you know at the company? Who do you have on LinkedIn that's connected with the company that you can reach out to and say, hey, you know what? I applied to this role. I'm preparing for the interview, but I need some additional information. Can you assist me? Can you help me
mm-hmm.
out? And I think pretty much they will assist you. Once it is not them who's going to be replaced.
Or they're going up for the position.
Exactly. They will help you out. So I would say leverage your network. You
Okay,
know.
great
Yes.
suggestions.
Yes.
Great
Yes.
suggestions. All right, so as you know, with COVID and what's happening, the face-to-face interview at this time is not happening. So I
Yes.
wanted to know, given that we're having a virtual fair, persons will be, being interviewed in a virtual space. What are the tips or the best practices given that format that you can share with persons who will be participating?
Great. Yes. First things first, make sure that all your equipments are working beforehand. So that's that. Test everything 30 to 45 minutes before, set up everything in order. Two, notify if you're in your household and you have more than one persons there. Let them know that you're going to be doing interviews because you don't want to be on an interview and you hear somebody in the background. Uh, you take off your butt over the fire. Or, you understand me?
Or
I was
walking
on.
by naked.
Listen, I was on an interview a few months back and for a customer service role in Kingston.
Mm,
And it was sad because I thought this gentleman probably would have been a good fit. But his girlfriend was sitting beside him, and I asked him a question. And the girlfriend answering, I hear this is what he said to the girlfriend. Why is the woman fit that? Not realizing that I was right in front of him. And so it was funny, but we have to be mindful. So that's the first thing.
good.
Now your camera as well. So that out of the way, your camera needs to be on eye length. You need to be looking intently in the camera. Most of the times we are looking on the computer screen, but not in the camera. But it's
Hmm.
important that we look in the camera, that we engage the interviewer that way. Okay. If you can get green screen, put up a background, fine, because the more you are prepared, it can only
Hmm.
add to your fit, to your positivity, so to speak, for the lack of a
Right.
better word. So
Hmm.
do that as well. um, and get familiar with the platform. If it's Zoom, if it's wherever the platform is, make sure you are familiar with it because that is important. So those are some tips that you need to take into consideration and be fully clothed. as you said, be fully clothed.
Great. Yes, I totally agree with those. And in the instance with the background, you can also, have a wall, a dead wall or
Yes,
something that
yes,
you can sit
absolutely,
before, and it should be
absolutely,
fine. Right.
absolutely,
So we
absolutely.
have a question from a viewer, and it's something that I noted here, the
Hmm.
famous tell me about yourself question. So the question is, can you give an example of a strong answer to tell us about yourself question, or to respond to the tell us about yourself question, using your suggestion of sharing how you will help the company in the answer?
Okay, okay, great. So, practical example, I'm a marketing professional. Uh, well, I am a marketing professional with 5 years experience in the hospitality industry. I've worked with X company with a certain clientele, building out marketing teams, building out marketing plans and strategies. And over those years, I've learned CEO, how to do search engine optimization. I've learned to do data. These are some things. In addition to that, I've also realized that you struggled a little bit with your social media engagements. And when I was doing my
Mm,
research, I realized that this is an area that I could assist with. And so you find a challenge and the issue, and you tie yourself back into it, albeit allowing your personality to shine as well, if that makes sense.
yes, it does. Because when you spoke of it, I actually noted that pretty much one or two sentences on your experience, highlighting your skills, what you have achieved, and what it is that you can offer the company in a nutshell.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely,
Okay, perfect.
absolutely.
All right, so we have another question. What are practical tips for calming nerves during an interview?
Great question. So during the interview, it's not before, it is during
Right,
the
during.
interview.
Right.
Okay. So there are some practical tips. Your posture and how you sit does a lot. So if you feel that you are more comfortable with your hands folded like this, but on the table, you can politely say to the interviewer, I feel a little bit more relaxed and comfortable putting my hands like this on the table.
Mm-hmm.
May I be allowed to do that? That
Okay.
that that is one. Two, uh, when the interviewer asks the question, take a few seconds to really digest it, right? Don't just rush, because when you rush, that builds up, I think, a little bit more adrenaline, and you get more flustered. So take your time. Also, in the back of your head, believe that you have the right to take your time. A lot of times we believe that the interviewer have the upper hand, and so you are under immense stress to answer when they say it, how they say it. But really and truly, you're going there to present your best self.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that. Um, Separate and apart from that, try to engage the interviewers. You're not overdoing it, to allow them to think that you're too pushy and you're
Friendly.
over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to engage them, because once you engage the interviewer, their guard is going to come down, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
relax, you're going to relax, and boom, you're good to go.
Okay, great. I think you mentioned that if they ask a question, you can ask for clarity. You can
Yes,
ask for them to rephrase it, or I think sometimes some persons feel like, okay, it's just whatever you ask, I just need to answer, and as you said,
absolutely.
they jump to answer without understanding and without fully, thinking about it, and know how to respond to that. All right, so we have another question. What are good questions to ask at the end of an interview? Is it okay to ask about salary in an interview if not advertised?
Listen, you see the salary question that always comes up, but some
Mm-hmm.
good question. Let's start from the first part of the question. What are some good questions to ask?
Mm-hmm.
One, what challenge or challenges are you currently facing?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question to ask. Um, Two, how does my skill set, knowledge, and experience match up to what you are looking for?
Mm-hmm.
And this is usually a giveaway question because based on the answer that the recruiter gives, it gives you an idea how well you have done or have not done in the
Mm-hmm.
interview if they're going to be completely open and transparent, but those are two critical questions I think you can ask as well, and there are many others, but I'd leave it at that too. What issues or challenges you're currently facing, and don't forget, you don't just ask the question like that. You don't ask the question and when they give you an answer you leave it. You're asking that question because you're crafting a response. So when they
Mm-hmm.
tell you the challenge, you cannot just say, okay. You have to rebut, you have to come again with a solution. Because again, you are presenting yourself as the person, is as the man with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason for that. The other question too is the same thing. If they said to you, if you said, how does my skill set, experience, qualification match up to the role? And they say, well, you know, I feel that this area is a shortfall, whatever, or what they may not phrase it like that. It is giving you an opportunity to rephrase or to clarify those expectations or anything.
Okay, great. So with that question, I had a question. So we've covered the before, the interview, the during. So the question is, what do you do afterwards? Some persons say, what is it, a couple days or a week after you can send an email, or no, you send an email, a thank you email shortly
Yes,
after,
yes,
and there's a timeline to follow up if you haven't heard anything. Tell us
yes,
about that.
yes. Yeah, so you usually want to, first of all, I believe that the interviewer needs to give you specific timelines.
Okay.
To say, you should hear back from us within a week, within 2 weeks. The fact that you've been interviewed, common courtesy is required. I know there are times when it's really difficult, and God forgive me, but there are so many candidates that I haven't reached out to. But it is common courtesy that we do that. Separate and apart from that,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think 7 days after the interview is
Mm-hmm.
good enough to
Mm-hmm.
a week to reach out I think on the issue of salary, we never answered the salary
Oh yes,
question.
yes, yes.
So be very open. You can ask them. First of all, if you are way in the initial stages, this may be the first interview, and you know that there are 3 interviews, don't really ask the salary question yet. And the reason I'm saying that is because some recruiters are not yet at the stage where they value candidates, where they see the candidate, as somebody with, well, let me rephrase. The recruiters tend to believe that they're doing the candidate a favor, as I've said
Mm-hmm.
earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you ask that question, they will say, you're all about the money, etc. So be mindful of that. Some recruiters will be frank with you, like in all my recruitment efforts, I have that question. I make sure clarify that from the get-go because I don't want to waste your time. I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we're aligned in every area, but not all recruiters are like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you can risk it if you want, but I'd say if there are 3 interviews, second interviews is where you really want to be asking that question, you know. But again, if you want to ask it from the first interview, I think you have all right to, because you also don't want to waste your time as well. If that answer the question.
Yeah, I agree. The thing though, as mentioned, some of the ads don't necessarily have that information. I believe for like government they do, but not
Yes,
everyone
yes.
advertise what the range is, or what that idea is in terms of salary. And so, or even the recruitment process. So some firms
Yes,
may
yes.
tell you you have to submit a video or you have three, the stages of the
Yes,
process,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
some don't. So when you go in there, this is your one shot. So you try to get as much information as possible. So, you can put forward that question. All right. So there's
Okay.
a comment from a viewer. Tini, can you put it on screen? Okay. If you take too long to answer the question, they mark you down for hesitation. So I think that was with regards to our discussion earlier. What you say about
Yes,
that?
yes. You don't want to take too long to
Okay.
answer because it might mean that you're really not sure. If you're an expert in this particular area, the answers should be rolling off the top of your tongue, right? But I'm wondering if he is referring to Mr. Miles, if he's referring to the length of the answers or the time in which you take to respond, because there's a difference.
Yeah, I think it's a time you take to respond. I think it's with regards to
Okay.
the comment about, you can take some time to think about it before you respond.
Okay, yes,
That's
yes, yes.
right.
Yes, you don't want to take too much time, you know, um, and you don't want to leave any dead air or anything. So you have to be mindful of that. Good point.
Okay, great. All right. So, we should tell me. Okay, he's clarifying. Time to respond. All right. So let's role play again. Another popular question in an interview. Why are you the best person for the job? Why do you want this job? How would you respond to something like that?
Why am I the best candidate? Great.
Right.
Mr. Hall, I'm so happy that you asked that question. When I did my research a few days ago prior to this interview, I realized that the company is on a trajectory, they're expanding, but I also realized that there were unique um, opportunities where I could showcase my skill sets and assist you with some of the challenges, some of the issues that you are having, such as customer service challenge. And you have to find the problem and you want to come up with a solution. It is all about that. It is really all about that, the challenges and the solution. Does that make any sense? I know I came out of the role play mode.
Actually, I didn't even realize when you said Miss Hall, I thought you were having this. But yes, you are good. I guess they don't call you a recruiting tycoon for no reason because you know your stuff and you are very versed, right?
Oh boy, I tell
All right.
you.
So I'm not seeing where we have any more questions or comments from the viewers. I don't have any more questions myself. And so I think it is safe to say we can wrap up. So Andrew, I just want to say thank you so much again for coming on, for doing this presentation, for talking to persons who have an interest in, whether it is attending our job fair or may have an interview with another company somewhere, that's fine. They've learned something that they can use to support them and to help them, when they go for interviews. So again, thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. And guys, Talent Box Caribbean will also be participating in the career fair this
Yeah.
Thursday, and Andrew will be there and recruiting. So visit his booth. He's already given you all the tips that you need to know. So please know you
Yes.
need to pass that exam. You need to go and pass that exam, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, great. So thank you again, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Julia. Have a good one.
No problem. Thank you. So, viewers, there you have it. You've gotten some very important tips and recommendations. If you have not yet registered for our GSS Virtual Talent Hub Fair, that will be happening this Thursday, starting at 9 a.m., you now need to do so. You can visit any of our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. You can access the link via those platforms to register for the fair. After you register, initially you need to complete your profile and then you can visit the booths of the firms that are exhibiting, look at their job boards and the job opportunities that are available, and you can begin to apply for the job so that they'll get them, they can screen them, they can schedule interviews with you. It's going to be exciting. As I mentioned before, there are giveaways you don't want to miss. We have digital gift cards. Once you win a prize, you will get it in hours. You can redeem for any local merchants that are available based on the platform that we'll be using. There will be industry outlook discussions where we'll be talking about jobs of the future in various segments. So you can tell, if you have a child in university, a child in secondary school, you can have them register. It's not just for persons looking employment opportunities, but it's a great way to learn more about the global services sector. So there you have it. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you to the communications team, Luana and Tine, for their assistance and support today. Thank you and see you on Thursday. Have a good evening.